Today in Cannabis News, the governor of New York releases projections for statewide cannabis tax income throughout the next 6 years. New Mexico officials increased cannabis crop cultivation caps for growers just weeks ahead of adult use sales beginning statewide. And as the push stalls in the U.S. Congress, Pennsylvania lawmakers prepare to submit state-level cannabis banking policy reform. It's Thursday, January 20th, and this is your Trichomes Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California, it's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, per a projection shown in the governor's executive budget announced this week, New York will produce upwards of $1.25 billion in cannabis tax income statewide within the next 6 years. The state expects to bring in $56 million in revenue during fiscal year 2023, the majority of which will derive from licensure costs. As purchases are predicted to start up and grow, the annual revenue predictions significantly rise, with $95 million during 2024, $158 million during 2025, $245 million during 2026, $339 million during 2027, and $363 million during 2028. The earnings from the 9% state excise tax on cannabis will be allocated to schooling, 40%, communal development, 40%, and substance addiction rehabilitation, 20%. The additional 4% tax levied will benefit state counties, 25%, and municipalities, townships, and localities, 75%, that permit cannabis enterprises to work within their regions. When cannabis goods are shipped from suppliers to sellers, they are subject to an independent potency tax.
Next up, New Mexico officials have doubled the cultivation caps imposed on recreational cannabis farmers just weeks prior to legalized adult use cannabis commerce commencing in the state. The majority of authorized cannabis growers will be able to cultivate twofold the amount of crops as before within emergency regulatory policies that took effect in recent days. The new regulation, according to Christine Thompson, head of New Mexico's Cannabis Control Division, is intended to aid in jumpstarting the state's nascent controlled recreational cannabis sector, which is expected to start retailing by April 1st. Cannabis farmers with a Level 4 permit will be able to cultivate within 12,001 to 16,000 cannabis crops within the new regulation, which will be enforced through July. Cannabis farmers with a Level 3 permit will be able to cultivate within 6,001 to 12,000 crops. Level 2 farmers will be able to grow within 2,001 to 6,000 crops, while Level 1 farmers will be limited to 401 to 2,000 crops. In filings submitted with the New Mexico Commission of Public Records, Thompson detailed the regulatory update. The division has considered demand estimates provided by applicants and licensees in the cannabis industry, wrote Thompson. Projected market demand shows that the demand for regulated cannabis will increase year to year as more cannabis consumers move from the illicit market to the regulated market. The supply of medical cannabis will become increasingly threatened without an adequate supply of plants.
Last up, while members of the U.S. Congress still push for legislation to safeguard banking institutions that engage with state-licensed cannabis firms, a bipartisan duo of Pennsylvania state senators have stated that they will introduce a companion bill in the state legislature in the near future. Senators John DeSanto and Sharif Street sent out a co-authored statement to state legislators this week, announcing their intention to introduce a proposal that would protect banking institutions and insurance companies from state regulatory penalties. Senators DeSanto and Street work on the State Banking and Insurance Committee. Though banking institutions are typically wary of encountering federal authorities as a result of the present prohibitive federal regulations, state-level legislation might encourage banking institutions to engage with Pennsylvania's medical cannabis sector while federal lawmakers attempt to push for national policy shifts. The senators highlighted federal regulatory guidelines for financial institutions and the cannabis sector issued in 2014, adding that adherence to this guidance does not immunize financial institutions from prosecution, and most will not bank cannabis-related businesses without legislative action.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit trichomes.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Tech and Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation, wherever you get your podcasts. For trichomes.com, I'm RJ Balde.
And I'm Devin Leal. Have a great day.